Hey guys, Mapletail here. Today we're talking Pokemon, specifically my shiny hunting adventures in Legends ZA. We'll be drawing my trainer Sona and my ultimate target, shiny Absol. Let's get into it. I'll be mentioning all the shinies I've gotten so far in my playthrough, but I mostly want to focus on my 3 big hunts that go up in difficulty as we go. We're starting off in easy mode, with my hunt for shiny Litleo. I have always wanted a shiny Litleo, since I got into shiny hunting in Pokémon X. But I only seriously hunted for it in Violet, where the odds were a fair bit better. I never had much luck with it, and was only willing to put so much time into that train wreck of a game. I am very much a 3DS era Pokemon fan at heart, but the Legends games have really won me over, so I was hyped at another chance at searching for Litleo. I heard tell of the power of Wild Zone 3's shiny hunting potential, so I had to take a look at it, day 2 of playing the game. And lucky for me, Litleo is one of the Pokemon to spawn in that area. It did not take long. With the staircase in that zone, you can run up and down to reset all nearby spawns at incredible speeds. By far the fastest way to hunt for shinies in this game, even without the shiny charm. It feels brokenly good. I got pretty lucky still, as Litleo ended up being the very first shiny I found, aside from the Mareep you get for free with a side quest. I named her Skyla, after an OC of mine. My next hunt was also in Wild Zone 3, but a fair bit trickier. Another Gen 6 favorite, Esper. Since only 2 spawn in that area, and most people seem to agree that only 1 is close enough to be reset by the staircase, it took much longer to track one down. On day 3, I was lucky enough to find a Flabébé as a random encounter elsewhere in the city. I called her Wisteria. Unfortunately, there are also Flabébé in Wild Zone 3, but the red variation instead of the yellow one I'd caught. So that was still really cool. On day 4, I locked in on searching for Esper. I caught a lot of non-Esper shinies. Another Litleo called Ivy, a Skiddo called Wool, a Vivillon called Hyacinth, as a nearby rooftop is also within range, a red Flabébé called Summer, another Skiddo called Desmond, an Alpha Fletchling called Robin, which was super neat, a Pancham called Talon, a third Skiddo, but also an Alpha this time, called Rame, and another Flabébé called Rue. It was, at this point, I was starting to get worried that Esper was actually out of range, at least on the Switch 1 I was using. I'm not sure if the range is any different there, but after this much looking, I was nervous. So I changed up my strategy. Every time I walked to the top of the stairs, I'd look over the area to make sure one spawned in. It took longer, but it gave me a little more peace of mind. More shinies. Renala the Skiddo, Road the Alpha Litleo, which I ended up using on my team, Lilac and Lavender the Flabébés, and finally, from my little lookout over the area, I peered down on a tiny little Esper. Was it weird lighting? Or was it pink? It was definitely pink. I dashed down and oh so carefully snuck up on the shiny Esper I'd long been searching for, catching Butters the Esper. I was so hyped. It's such a good shiny. And I even caught the female variation, which I prefer the design and abilities of when it evolves. I added her to my team and made my way through more of the game. But I could hear Wild Zone 3 calling to me. After all, it would be really cool if I could get a male Esper too. Not to mention a male Litleo. As well, at that point I might as well try to get every possible shiny in the area. I caught Near the Skiddo, Eclipse the Fletchling, Kana the Litleo, Amaranth the Pidgey, Ire the Fletchling, and Heather, another Litleo. I was glad to get a couple I was missing, but overall missed my targets. I decided it was probably best to wait for the shiny charm, until searching for the trickier spawns, so I went off to complete the game. The very first thing I found after the credits rolled? A random shiny Bunnelby, that I called Nari. Not long after, during my attempts at earning the shiny charm, I found another random shiny, a Spinarak, calling them Crystalline. So let's talk about the actual requirements of the shiny charm in this game, because it is brutal. The base odds for finding shinies are the usual 1 in 4,096. But with the charm, that goes up to 1 in 1,024. Pretty great when you're seeing so many Pokemon just walking around. But it takes a lot of work to get there. Most of it isn't too bad. Complete the Pokedex, catch 50 of each type, etc. The requirement of completing trade evolutions almost made me give up on the spot. But I was lucky enough to find someone willing to trade them all with me. But it was the battle request that nearly got me. To get the charm, you have to complete 1,000 battles against NPC trainers. If you play through the whole game and all its side quests, you'll end up near 300. 300. You can see the problem, right? But I was determined. There was no way I was finding shiny Absol without it, as they always spawn alone, making that 1 in 4096 a very scary number. So off to the battle zones I went. I did the math. If I could complete about 20 battles per in-game night, I'd only need to do it like 28 times. A pretty huge undertaking, but one I could wrap my head around at least. It had to be done. It took several days of doing nothing but battle zones, which made me very good at being fast. I was getting closer to 30 battles per zone, which ended up bringing my total down to 24 nights. So before I'd even finished the main story, I'd gotten my 1,000 battles completed. The rest of the requirements were a bit of a breeze after that. I tested the charm out in Wild Zone 3, just to see if it felt any different, and honestly I got kind of unlucky, only finding one, an alpha fletchling called Blush. But during my actual next hunt, I definitely felt the effects. My shiny Absol hunt. This Pokemon means a lot to me, my absolute favorite. It is still to this day the only shiny I have successfully bred for, all the way back in Pokemon X. Taking roughly 800 eggs, if memory serves. I remember crying when it hatched, I was so excited. It wasn't my first shiny, that would be a Vanillish in Pokemon Black 2, but it was the first I hunted for. So what better way to honor them than to complete another hunt in this new Gen 6 game? Especially after so many games with Absol being sadly absent. I found where one spawned on a rooftop, thankfully right next to a bench. You can sit on benches to change the time, which resets all nearby spawns. Unfortunately, on the Switch 1 at least, it takes over 30 seconds each time, which really adds up as the hours pass. So I spent a few days sitting on a bench, looking around every once in a while, listening for any rogue shiny sounds. I got very lucky. The first thing to spawn was a shiny Alpha Garbodor called Saga. Getting such a tricky one first gave me a lot of hope. Maybe it wouldn't be too long until Absol shined too. It didn't go quite like that. I found Brook the Panpour, Bell the Trubbish, Ochre the Panpour, Leaf the Pansage, and so many fletchlings. Night, Rainier, and Mauve, all back to back. Honey the Weedle, Camilla the Panseer, Rikai the Trubbish, and yet another fletchling called Ardoon. I truly am doomed to find every shiny in the area before the one I want, it seems. But on day 6 of hunting for my target, it happened. A glimpse of a red and white Absol. I managed to film it, and you can see my panic. I made sure to save and everything, but I was still scared to mess it up. I caught August the Absol in my favorite Pokeball, the Great Ball, and I could not be happier. I even dressed my trainer up to match his color scheme. I am still slightly tempted to hunt for a shiny Alpha one too, but maybe another time. I'd done it. And after so many bench resets, I had a thorough look around to make sure I didn't miss any others. And lo and behold, I came across the second most exciting thing to shine in the area, and probably the only one I was missing at that point. A little shiny pink Dratini. All in all, an extremely successful day. With all the luck I was having, I figured I should have a quick look at Wild Zone 3 too, and see about that male Esper. I found the next best thing, a second female one. One that I could keep as a cute little pink baby. Also another Litleo. And that brings us to now. Thanks for watching. I've been having such a great time with Legends ZA, and I've been really loving shiny hunting in it. At the time of writing, I've been working on a fossil reset hunt for shiny Amora 2. I'm at 300 checks now, and the shiny charm doesn't affect fossils, so I have a feeling it's going to be many more before one shines. But that's all part of the fun. I'd also like to have a look for Spritzy, Skrelp, Eevee, and Fennekin too. I'm trying to replace my whole team with shiny versions. I'd love to have that done by the time the DLC comes out in December. That would be really cool. Well, let's see how it goes. And unfortunately, I think a lot of those will be Absol levels of brutal. But I have hope. And I hope you enjoyed my little shiny hunting rant. And I'll see you next Thursday.